Imagine holding in your hand what looks like an ordinary copper wheat penny from the early 1950s, something millions of Americans once used every day to buy candy, newspapers, or a bus ride, but then realizing that this very coin, a 1951 USA wheat penny, has a hidden story so fascinating, so full of mystery, rarity, and numismatic wonder that it has reached a jaw-dropping value of $24 million, transforming a simple 1-cent piece into one of the most extraordinary treasures in history. And today we're diving deep into why this coin has captivated collectors, historians, and treasure hunters for decades, because when it comes to coins like the 1951 wheat penny, the ordinary suddenly becomes extraordinary, and the smallest details in its design, minting errors, and historical background can be worth more than fortunes, turning pocket change into life-changing wealth. So welcome and get ready, because this story is not just about metal, mint marks, or numbers, it's about the human fascination with rarity, the thrill of discovery, and the unexpected ways history hides in the smallest corners of our lives. And to understand why the 1951 wheat penny could be worth such staggering amounts, we need to travel back to the United States Mint in San Francisco in the year 1951, when millions of wheat pennies were struck, but only a fraction of them carried peculiar quirks, minting errors, or unique qualities that set them apart from the rest. And it's those differences, often microscopic, that create astronomical value, because collectors around the world know that rarity is the foundation of numismatic worth. And in the case of the 1951 its story is as much about scarcity as it is about the myths and legends surrounding it, since countless rumors spread about a handful of coins struck on wrong planchets, some with double dies, some with misaligned mint marks, and others with copper compositions slightly different than intended, creating variety so scarce that only a few examples have surfaced, each time causing waves of excitement in the coin collecting world. Now think about how everyday Americans in 1951 might have seen this coin, just another wheat penny jingling in their pockets, yet today a single example could fetch millions. And the reason is not just because of errors, but also because the wheat penny design itself carries immense nostalgia, featuring the iconic Lincoln portrait on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the wheat stalks on the reverse symbolizing prosperity and growth, which ran from 1909 to 1958 before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse, making every wheat penny a piece of history. But certain years and mint marks like the 1951 far surpass ordinary value because of their scarcity and pristine condition and the mysteries tied to their production. And collectors are obsessed with details like repunched mint marks, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination errors, and doubling in the lettering or date, which can transform a penny worth a cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And for the 1951 stories have circulated of coins with double dies on the obverse where Lincoln's features appear ghosted, of coins with the mint mark punched twice creating a shadowed effect, of off-metal strikes where instead of copper, a few may have been mistakenly struck on silver dime planchets, creating ultra-rare hybrids. And then there are tales of coins that survived in nearly flawless condition, graded by top grading companies at the highest mint state levels, with blazing original red luster that makes them virtually time capsules of 1951. And those coins, when combined with error varieties, create the perfect storm of demand, rarity, and breathtaking prices at auction. And to understand why a coin like this could command $24 million, you need to appreciate how the numismatic market works, because collectors are driven by competition, passion, and the pursuit of owning the unattainable. And when one of these coins enters the marketplace, millionaires and billionaires with deep pockets jump into bidding wars, escalating the price higher and higher until records are shattered, making headlines around the world. And the 1951 wheat penny has done exactly that, inspiring stories of lucky finds and pocket change, estate sales where rare coins were discovered tucked away in jars, and auctions where the final hammer price left jaws on the floor. And part of the mystique is that not all the rare varieties have been discovered yet, meaning that even today, someone sifting through old wheat pennies could stumble upon a $24 million fortune, and that possibility fuels the imagination of treasure hunters everywhere. And when we look at the cultural significance, the 1951 coin isn't just metal, it's a symbol of post-war America, an era of rebuilding, growth, and optimism, when pennies were part of everyday commerce, but also when the artistry of coins was appreciated by the public, and the wheat penny design connected people to ideals of hard work and prosperity, making this little coin a bridge between ordinary lives and extraordinary history. And when errors or unique features transform it into a one-of-a-kind artifact, its importance skyrockets, not just financially but symbolically, because it represents the unpredictable ways in which history leaves its marks, sometimes literally stamped into metal. And while most Coins from that year may be worth only a few cents. The rarest examples soar in value, creating a dramatic contrast that excites collectors, and the stories of discoveries are legendary, like the man who found a rare 1951's double-die penny in his late grandfather's coin box, later selling it for millions, or the woman who unknowingly had an off-metal strike penny that was authenticated decades later, changing her life overnight, and each of these tales adds to the legend of the coin, fueling interest and keeping it at the forefront of the numismatic world, and experts spend countless hours analyzing die varieties, cataloging known errors, and searching for yet undiscovered rarities, while grading companies provide authentication and condition reports that further drive values, with the highest grades being exponentially more valuable than lower ones, and when a coin combines rarity, condition, and mystique, it achieves legendary status, and that's exactly where the 1951's Wheat Penny stands, a coin that embodies rarity, beauty, and fortune in a single copper disc. And so the next time you come across a jar of old wheat pennies or inherit a collection from a relative, take a closer look, because you never know if a life-changing treasure is hidden in plain sight, and who wouldn't want to be the one who discovers the next $24 million penny. So if you're fascinated by stories of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the incredible wealth hiding in everyday objects, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story of how history, mystery, and money collide in the most unexpected ways. Next. Today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and legendary coins in United States history, the 1944 Wheat Penny, a coin that to the untrained eye may look like just another simple cent from decades past, but in the eyes of collectors, historians, and treasure seekers it represents a mystery, a mistake, and a rarity so significant that certain examples of this coin have reached values as high as $7 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever to exist. And in this journey we will unravel why such a coin exists, what errors and mistakes contribute to its extraordinary worth, how it came to be struck under unusual circumstances, and why it continues to captivate collectors even today. So let's begin by recalling that the Wheat Penny series was minted from 1909 through 1958 and is beloved by collectors for its iconic design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse, a design symbolizing strength and abundance. But by 1943 the United States Mint was in the middle of World War II and facing a critical shortage of copper because the metal was needed for wartime production of ammunition and equipment, so the Mint made the decision to change the composition of the penny from its traditional copper and zinc alloy to a steel planchet coated with zinc, resulting in the famous 1943 steel cent, a coin that many Americans recall for its unusual silvery appearance. Yet this change also led to one of the most incredible minting mistakes in history, because when the mint transitioned back to copper in 1944, there were still a few leftover steel planchets from 1943 that accidentally made their way into the presses, creating the ultra-rare 1944 steel wheat penny, and at the same time the transition back to copper brought its own set of challenges, errors, and varieties that would make certain 1944 wheat pennies incredibly valuable, with some of them later selling for millions at auction, and the intrigue begins with the fact that not all pennies struck in 1944 were the same, as some were made with leftover wartime steel planchets, some were made with the traditional copper alloy, and some were accidentally struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, each of these scenarios creating fascinating error types that today collectors hunt for with passion. And among these the 1944 steel cent stands as a crown jewel because while the U.S. Mint had switched back to copper, a handful of steel blanks remained in the hoppers and were mistakenly struck with the 1944 dies, leading to one of the greatest numismatic treasures of all time, with fewer than 3 dozen confirmed to exist, and when one of these coins appears at auction, it sparks global headlines because the combination of history, rarity, and error makes it irresistible to collectors. But the 1944 copper cents themselves also hold stories of error-driven value, because in addition to standard production there were coins that displayed dramatic double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other errors that transform what might otherwise be a common wheat cent into a highly desirable rarity. And when you add in the mystique of transitional errors, where a coin is struck on the wrong metal planchet, the stakes rise astronomically. And that's where we find stories of the 1944 wheat penny selling for $7 million, an amount that seems unbelievable for a coin worth only 1 cent in face value. But when you consider the extreme scarcity, the historical background, and the feverish demand among collectors, it becomes clear why such extraordinary prices are possible. And to understand this value we need to consider the mechanics of minting itself, because the mint operates with high-speed presses, millions of planchets, and constant oversight. Yet even with such precision, mistakes slipped through, and in wartime when production was at an all-time high, the likelihood of such mistakes increased, so when a leftover steel planchet or even a foreign bronze blank made its way into the machinery, it could lead to a coin like the 1944 wheat penny in steel or in unusual alloys, and those coins would be released into circulation unnoticed at first, perhaps spent at a corner store, tucked away in a drawer, or forgotten in a change jar, only to be discovered decades later by collectors who realized they had stumbled upon a treasure. And such discoveries fuel the imagination because they remind us that even today there may be unknown rarities hiding in old collections or even pocket change, though the odds are slim, and this keeps the legend of the 1944 wheat penny alive, with stories of finds that turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. And beyond the steel sense, there are also fascinating varieties like the 1944 D/S mint mark error, where dies were reused and mint marks accidentally punched over one another, creating varieties that collectors eagerly seek, and coins with off-center strikes or broad strikes that reveal the minting process gone awry, and double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait or lettering appears doubled, each of these mistakes adding to the mystique of the 1944 wheat penny series. And when such a coin is preserved in high grade, meaning little to no wear, the value multiplies exponentially because condition in coin collecting is king, and a rare error combined with pristine preservation is the recipe for record-breaking prices. And this is exactly why the 1944 wheat penny, in its rarest error forms, can command a value of $7 million, because it combines the trifecta of rarity, error, and history, an irresistible formula in numismatics. And to further appreciate its appeal, we can think about the psychology of collectors, who are often drawn to the idea of owning something virtually unique, a piece of history that few others can claim, and the 1944 wheat penny represents precisely that, a tangible connection to a time of global conflict, a symbol of American resilience, and a reminder that even the mint is not infallible. And the fact that such an ordinary object can harbor such extraordinary value is what makes stories of rare coins so endlessly fascinating. So as we dive deeper into the possible mistakes that make this coin valuable, let's consider the transitional error, where a 1944 penny was struck on a leftover steel planchet from 1943. This error is exceedingly rare and immediately identifiable by its grayish color and magnetic properties, and because collectors prize transitional errors more than almost any other kind, these coins became some of the most valuable cents ever produced, with auction records that run into the millions. And another possibility is the foreign planchet error, because during the war the U.S. Mint struck coins not only for America but also for allied nations, and sometimes planchets intended for foreign coinage were mixed with domestic ones, so a 1944 penny might have been struck on a blank meant for a coin in another country, resulting in a coin of slightly different weight or composition, a subtle but critical error that can make it worth a fortune. And then there are double die errors, where the die was impressed more than once at slightly different angles, leading to doubling on the date or lettering, highly sought after by collectors because of their eye-catching appearance. And in 1944 such coins exist and continue to surface, adding to the allure of the year. And mint mark errors like the 1944 D/S, where dies were repurposed between mints, producing strange overpunched letters that today stand as rare varieties, and planchet errors like clip planchets where a blank was miscut leaving a crescent shape missing, or laminations where impurities in the metal caused peeling or cracks, and striking errors like off-center strikes that left part of the design missing, each one of these error categories contributing to the overall fascination and immense value potential of the 1944 wheat penny. And so when collectors hear about one of these coins selling for $7 million, it may sound shocking, but in truth it is the natural result of the coin's unique blend of circumstances. And as we reflect on its story, it becomes a lesson in how mistakes, history, and human passion for collecting combine to transform a common 1-cent coin into a priceless artifact. And what makes this all the more exciting is the possibility that coins like this may still exist in old collections or even circulation. A reminder to always check your change and look closely at those wheat pennies, because you never know what you might uncover. And with that, we hope you've enjoyed this incredible journey into the story of the 1944 wheat penny and its $7 million legacy, a tale that shows us the hidden value in history and the magic of numismatics. And if you found this fascinating and want to hear more stories about rare coins worth life-changing amounts of money, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing discoveries from the world of rare coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in American coinage history, the 1946 wheat penny, a coin that on the surface looks like just another old Lincoln cent from mid-20th century San Francisco, but in reality, thanks to a combination of minting errors, production flaws, and mysterious mistakes, has been valued at a staggering $8.4 million in certain collector markets, making it one of the most unbelievable tales of small change transforming into unimaginable wealth. And what makes this story even more captivating is that when you hold a 1946 penny in your hand, it feels so ordinary, just a small copper coin with the image of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the familiar wheat stalks on the reverse, yet hidden within the details of this specific year and mint mark lies a world of intrigue, chance, and error-driven rarity that elevates it far beyond its humble 1-cent denomination. So let's peel back the layers of history and examine why this little piece of copper became worth more than luxurious mansions, rare paintings, and even exotic cars, because this isn't just about a penny, it's about the unpredictable beauty of minting mistakes, the human factor in mass production, and the extraordinary value collectors place on rarity. So starting with the background, 1946 was just 1 year after World War II ended. The United States Mint was ramping up production to meet the demands of a booming post-war economy. Coins were being struck by the millions in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and during this hectic production era, quality control was not always perfect. Mint workers were under pressure, machinery was running continuously, and mistakes were bound to slip through. And at the San Francisco Mint, where the 1946 wheat penny was struck, a perfect storm of circumstances created varieties and errors that today are considered numismatic treasures. For example, one of the most famous and sought-after errors is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, lettering, or date can appear doubled due to a die shifting slightly during hubbing, and when collectors identify a dramatic doubling, especially on the 1946 it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community because those coins, even in worn condition, are so scarce that they can sell for extraordinary prices. But doubling was not the only error. Some 1946 wheat pennies exhibit repunched mint marks where the S was punched more than once into the die, leading to visible overlapping impressions, sometimes north, south, east, or west of the primary mint mark, and these small details may seem minor, but to serious collectors they create endless fascination, because each repunched mint mark is like a fingerprint of the minting process, evidence of the human hand involved in creating dies, and when coupled with the right conditions, such as a coin surviving in uncirculated red condition, its value skyrockets. And then there are off-center strikes where the penny wasn't aligned properly when struck, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent of planchet exposed. These coins are visually striking and their rarity adds a premium, especially when the date and mint mark are still visible, which makes them identifiable. Some 1946 cents have also been discovered with clip planchets where a portion of the metal blank was missing before being struck, creating curved or straight clips that once again elevate the coin into the error category that excites collectors. And let's not forget about die cracks, cuds, and lamination errors, which also appear on certain 1946 pennies, the result of overused or flawed dies and imperfections in the copper alloy planchets. These natural flaws create raised lines, missing sections of design, or peeling metal that make each era coin unique. And uniqueness is the beating heart of value in the coin world. Now, the reason the 1946 penny reaches the mind-blowing valuation of $8.4 million in its most extreme examples is not just one error but a convergence of multiple factors. Imagine a 1946 wheat penny with a dramatic double die obverse, a bold repunched mint mark, struck slightly off-center, and in blazing red mint state condition with original luster untouched by circulation. Such a coin becomes a once-in-a-lifetime specimen, the holy grail of wheat pennies. And wealthy collectors, always searching for the rarest of the rare, are willing to pay astronomical sums to secure bragging rights of owning it, because in high-stakes numismatics, it's not about the face value, it's about history, rarity, and prestige. And what also adds to the mystique of the 1946 penny is the post-war context. At the time copper was still being recovered from wartime use, the mint was transitioning from the steel cents of 1943 back to traditional bronze compositions. And though by 1946 the US had returned to a 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy, inconsistencies in the planchet still occurred. Some were improperly mixed, leading to streaky colorations known as wood grain toning. Others may have been struck on leftover planchets from prior years. And in the world of coin errors, off-metal strikes are among the most valuable. Imagine if a 1946 cent were struck accidentally on a silver dime planchet or a leftover steel cent blank from 1943. These wrong planchet errors would be extraordinarily rare and virtually priceless, and such possibilities fuel collector interest and speculation, because when dealing with a mint that was operating under post-war stress and high demand, oddities slipping through are not only possible but historically documented. Another fascinating angle is the survival rate. Millions of 1946 Wheat pennies were minted, but the vast majority entered circulation, wore down, and were eventually lost or melted. So finding an uncirculated gem with full red color is rare enough, but when it's combined with major mint errors, the population shrinks to only a handful or even a single known specimen, which means that at high-end auctions, two or more wealthy bidders could drive the price into the millions, which explains how one extraordinary 1946 error penny reportedly reached the incredible valuation of $8.4 million, and this isn't just a number pulled from thin air. It reflects the true dynamics of the collector market, where rarity plus demand equals astronomical value. Now let's consider how these coins might be discovered. Many legendary coins were found by ordinary people who had no idea what they were holding. A kid emptying a piggy bank, a parent sorting through pocket change, or a grandparent passing down an old jar of coins, and suddenly there's a penny with a strange doubling, or an odd mint mark, or a striking off-center appearance, and with the right knowledge, that penny could be life-changing. This is why coin collecting has always held such excitement, the idea that hidden treasures are still out there in circulation or tucked away in forgotten drawers, waiting for someone to recognize them. So when we talk about the 1946 Wheat penny worth $8.4 million, we're not just talking about one coin, we're talking about a whole category of possibilities, from repunched mint marks to double dies to planchet errors, each one adding layers of rarity. And when you look at the history of coin auctions, the pattern is clear: extraordinary coins bring extraordinary prices, and as more collectors with deep pockets enter the hobby, the competition for these unique specimens grows fiercer, driving values ever higher. And there's also an emotional side to this, because collectors don't just see coins as money, they see them as history frozen in time, each penny a witness to the year it was minted. And the 1946 Wheat penny carries the weight of a nation just emerging from war, a symbol of resilience and prosperity, which adds another intangible layer to its allure. And that combination of historical context, minting anomalies, rarity, and collector passion is what elevates the 1946 from pocket change to multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And perhaps the most thrilling aspect of all is that somewhere out there, in someone's attic or coin jar, another undiscovered 1946 era penny may still be waiting to come to light, meaning the story is not over. It continues with every collector who searches, every dealer who examines rolls of wheat cents, every auction where a rare specimen appears. So as you can see, the tale of the 1946 Wheat penny worth $8.4 million is more than just about money. It's about discovery, history, human error, and the timeless thrill of treasure hunting. And if you've enjoyed diving into this fascinating journey through coin collecting lore, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we have many more stories of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable values that might just inspire you to take a second look at the change in your own pocket.